You are listening to the Central Indiana Sports Report, episode 124.1.2, CIC Showdown, Frankton versus Oak Hill. Co-host is Michelle Garmon. Coming up, Brent Brobston of the Frankton Eagles and Kevin Renbarger of the Oak Hill Golden Eagles.
You're listening to the Central Indiana Sports Report with your host, Greg Mengels.
Welcome, Michelle. I think first really big game of the season in the CIC, especially since Oak Hill beat Mississinawa last week. It sets up what we kind of expected here.
Yeah, it does. To me, it's the game of the week, and to me, it might almost be the game of the month. You're talking about Frankton, who was co-CIC champion. You're talking about Oak Hill, who's won a lot of CIC titles as well as Frankton. Huge conference battle early in the season, and I would say that I really think that Oak Hill has probably become one of Frankton's biggest conference rivals in basketball.
Yeah. When you have two programs that good, it tends to happen.
Yes, it does. Their programs, it's not just two programs that are good. It starts at the top. You have two great head coaches, coaches that have won, taken their teams to the state championship games and, won and know what it takes to build a program, know what it takes to sustain a program and to really, in the smaller school, you even keep your program relevant and from really hitting bottom in years that, because when you're at a smaller school, there are always going to be years that, maybe your talent is not quite as good, but you've got two coaches that have good systems that even when the talent's not quite as good, they play really competitive basketball.
Well, let's talk a little about the personnel. It looks like Oak Hill probably has the more balanced, better backcourt. Frankton has a little bit of an advantage up front. Is that how you see it?
Yeah, probably. It's really tough. I'm looking forward to it because you have Jace Tonigal, a young, really talented player, could be a superstar, big shot maker, and then you have Joey Wright for Frankton, who is a really good guard. He's good size, physicality, he's good rebounding as
doesn't
far as
make many mistakes.
No, he doesn't, and he's hit a lot of big shots in his career, too. And so, it's going to be, but probably, especially playing in their home gym, you give a little bit of an edge to Oak Hill with the backcourt and just maybe on the perimeter as a whole. Frankton now, they are going to have...
That's probably the better way of saying it, on the perimeter rather than in the backcourt.
Yeah, on the perimeter. And then I think that, Frankton can help make up some of that by getting Trey Bennett involved early. And, but for his part, Trey's going to have to play smart on the defensive end. And with Oak Hill being undersized and being able to put pressure on you from the perimeter, Frankton's going to have to... and which they will, because Brent's really good at this. Brent and his staff are really good at this, mixing up defenses and coming up with a defense to where Oak Hill's not able to exploit Bennett defensively on defense. I think he could be a real problem for Oak Hill around the rim. It's really going to come down to, for Frankton, is how well are they shooting the ball? They haven't shot super well here. They have opened the season with a very tough schedule. They've been doing well and competing and winning ball games or in being close in the games they've lost, even not shooting well. So what happens when that shooting form rounds into shape for Frankton? I think they can become a very dangerous team.
Well, we know they have the coaching to do that.
Yes, they do. And we talked to Brent. Oak Hill is a tough place to play, especially when Oak Hill has a good basketball team. That gym, even though it's Christmas and your crowds before Christmas tend to be less than what they are afters. I still,
Without question.
Yes, I still think that this game tomorrow night will draw, or Friday night will draw a big crowd because of the two programs. And Frankton fans travel well,
Yes, they do.
and Oak Hill fans turn out at home, and so maybe not quite as big if they were playing this game a month later, but it's still a big crowd.
Very big. And, yeah, 6 years in a row, at least one of them has at least tied for the conference championship, I believe.
I think you're probably, you're
Yeah.
probably right in there. It's, and, yeah, I mean.
It's something like that. Sorry, I didn't do the research
Oh, no,
ahead
you're
of
right.
time.
Here's the thing.
I know Oak Hill won a bunch. Frankton has won recently. They've tied for at least one.
The Central Indiana Conference is pretty much run through Oak Hill or Frankton, Mississinawa. But Oak Hill and Frankton have probably kind of been dominant, kind of like Eastbrook has been had been pretty dominant in football, and now Mississinawa is kind of going that way when it comes to conference championships. Even when Blackford was really good with Luke Brown, they struggled to win the CIC. So that just kind of tells you.
Don't think they ever did.
I don't think they did either. And yeah, I mean, it's like I said, it should be a great ball game. Two masterminds on the bench. It's going to come down to which team is more successful knocking down free throws. Probably which team can stay out of foul trouble. And turnovers. It's and who basically, I guess, which players follow and are able to execute their coaches' game plans better. Talking
about the CIC, of course, Oak Hill came off a really big win over Mississinawa in Gas City last Friday. They're unbeaten. Frankton, of course, is unbeaten in the conference. Blackford is unbeaten in the conference. And Madison Grant. So, big weekend. Madison Grant plays Mississinawa as well. But I think we said this last night on the podcast. It's not necessarily going to determine the CIC champion, but it's hard to imagine that the team that wins won't win at least a share of it down the road.
I agree. Whoever wins this one definitely has the upper hand, especially if it's Oak Hill, since Oak Hill's already beaten Mississinawa. Mississinawa, when you think about Mississinawa, is basically is kind of in a must-win situation.
As far as the conference goes.
As far as the conference goes. I mean, they have the one loss, and they can't afford to lose again. I wouldn't be surprised if the conference, whoever wins or shares, has at least one loss. I think it would be really hard to have two losses and win a share of the conference. Although I do know it's but yeah, and I know
this isn't the kind of year where that's probably going to happen.
No, and I mean I do know it's balanced some, but I also know that
the teams at the top are teams at the top for a reason.
And I think Frankton learned from their loss to Alexandria late last year. When Alexandria stunned them, I'm guessing those kids know, hey, guess what? No matter where we are, our record is we can't let up, and just because we're going to play a team that has a worse record than us, we're going to have to show up every night and every conference game to win. I just don't see, unless there's a key injury or you got a team that's got a bunch of kids that are ill, that are playing through illness and just don't have the legs. I don't see Oak Hill or Frankton or whoever, maybe Mississinawa, and maybe it's Blackford in there getting beat twice and winning the conference.
So coming up, we have Frankton head coach Brent Brobston, Oak Hill head coach Kevin Renbarger, two great wins with two great programs. Anything that you learned, or what do you take away from talking to them tonight?
Well, from talking to them tonight, I think they both have a ton of respect for each other and the successes that each has had, their programs have had, and how they built their programs. I I think I learned, both coaches expect a good game, which they are going to. I just think when you listen to them, you hear, you can tell why they're good coaches and why they're winning coaches, and both are probably going to be in the end, Hall of Fame coaches.
All right, here first is Oak Hill head coach Kevin Renbarger to talk about Friday's game of the week against the Frankton Eagles.
Yeah, it's a pivotal CIC matchup, I would think. Mississinawa, Oak Hill, Frankton have all kind of had a stranglehold on the conference over the last 10, 15 years. And so with us having an opportunity to play Mississinawa last week and then Frankton this week, it's a really big basketball game Friday night.
Well, yeah, most definitely. I mean, the winner of Friday night's game, it's like Greg and I were talking about on the podcast for actually this last week, is that the winner is definitely has the upper hand, or is definitely in the driver's seat, and especially for you because you had the win over Mississinawa last week, so you will have played two of the top challengers to the CIC, and the two co-defending CIC champs. So if you get wins over both of them, by far, I know conference play is not over, but that does kind of put you in the driver's seat.
It certainly helps. What you maintain is an ability to control your own destiny. It's still kind of early to see where the conference is going to shake out. Blackford's having a nice season. Eastbrook is certainly capable. But as I said, Frankton and Mississinawa have been kind of the class of the CIC, and for us to put ourselves in a position to potentially win this game tomorrow night would be a huge benefit, and again, allow us to kind of control our own destiny.
What do you think the chances are that at the end of the CIC season that every team has at least one loss?
It's probably pretty good. I told you a couple of weeks ago I thought the league was a little more balanced this year. I don't think that there's a clear-cut favorite. I really do like Frankton's team. They're always going to be extremely well coached and disciplined, and you're going to have to beat that team. They're not going to beat themselves, and so I really do like their team. I think they're probably a favorite, but I'm not sure they're head and shoulders above everybody else, and so. Some of it will come down to matchups, where you're playing, who you're playing, things like that. Frankton was in the driver's seat last year, and Alexandria clipped them. But you look at the Alexandria-Frankton rivalry, that's a little bit different. It's kind of like a county rivalry here within Grant County with Madison Grant, Oak Hill, Eastbrook, and Mississinawa. So I would be surprised if somebody's able to run the table. But again, we hope we don't have to count on that after tomorrow night, I guess.
What are the key or critical matchups for you guys on Friday against Frankton? Areas that you think that you need to either come out even or ahead to give yourselves a good chance to win?
Yeah, I'm not sure that individual matchups is necessarily going to be the key for this particular game. As I said, I think Frankton they obviously have a couple of kids who are leading them in scoring. Wright and Carmack are both probably going to be first team all CIC players. And I suppose if you want to look at matchups, they're both averaging about 15 and a half, 16 points a game. Jace Tonigal is averaging a little over 22 points a game, and RJ Schugert's getting close to that 15-point range. And so I suppose if you're looking at matchups, whichever one of the two headliners, quote unquote headliners from each team, has a better start and a better game, I think that'll be something to watch. But Frankton is so program oriented and disciplined that any one of them could really lead them in scoring. So it's there are a lot of other keys for us in regards to handling their pressure on both the full and the half court, and then just staying steady and sound on the defensive end, because they're going to run their offense and run their offense and run their offense until either they get the shot that they want or you break down on defense. Coach Brobston's teams have always been like that, and this team is really no different. And so, those are things that we're probably more concerned about than taking away an individual player at this point.
How big is the rebounding battle gonna be? 'Cause
Yeah, it'll be big. It's always big for us, always, because we're so undersized. But Frankton is so physical and they're athletic. They feature an entire roster of, I feel like, that's between 6'2" and 6'6", and we don't. Obviously, we don't feature anybody that's even close to 6'6" at this point. So, being sound on blockouts, it's been a key focus all week. It's been a key focus all year, actually. And we've had games where we've done well, and then there are games like Saturday night where we have been just abysmal keeping teams off of the offensive backboard. But they don't necessarily shoot for a high percentage, and so a lot of what they do is, you see, in the college level, you see the Houston team do it, and Texas A&M, they shoot a shot and then go get it. And Frankton is very, very much like that. They are just so physical and play with reckless abandon that they shoot it and go get it. And it's going to be our charge to kind of keep them off of that backboard and keep them from doing that.
Tempo. How do you and Frankton, do you feel like you like to play at the same tempo? Or if not, how important then will tempo be and who controls it?
Yeah, it's funny. Frankton's teams usually like to get up and down, and they still do run a sideline break this year, but I don't feel like their tempo is as quick as it has been in the past. We do still like to get the ball up and down the floor, but I'm kind of suspecting that they will be right there with us. If we want to get up and down and make it a full court game, I think they're going to oblige. They certainly press a majority of the basketball game, and they'll put pressure on you to force and create turnovers, but they're very more opportunistic this year when they run than they have been in the past. But I suspect that's probably has more to do with just the team that they play, and that if a team wants to get out and run like we do, they'll oblige and get out and run as well. So, obviously we want to run. We want to make sure it's a full court basketball game. Could be a fun game from that standpoint, but I'm not sure it'll be a particular key one way or the other, because I feel like they can do it as well.
Coach, tell us a little bit about Owen's Middleworth and how he's playing.
Owen had a breakout game Saturday night against McConaughey, scored a season high and a career high 16 points. He was actually playing really well for us at the beginning of the year. And right around the Manchester game, he suffered a hip flexor that put him back for a couple of weeks. And so he's just now getting back to that. We've talked on a number of occasions how important it is for us to find a third scorer. And it doesn't necessarily, I think what we found is it doesn't necessarily have to be the same third scorer every game. We just need somebody to step up, whether it be Owen Middlesworth or a Landon Cruzen or a Landon Watts or a Ryan Lawson. And, on Saturday, it was Owen Middlesworth and it was Beckham Lamb. Owen had 16 and Beckham had 10. And there's no doubt if those two don't show up and score the amount that they did, we don't win that game. We got nice numbers from Jason. We got, RJ led us in scoring with 20. We only won by 2, and those two kids, combined for 26 points. So that was huge. It's really huge. It takes a lot of pressure off of RJ and Jace, in particular Jace, who's garnering a lot of attention. Defenses are starting to game plan for him, and for our kids to be able to step up and take some of that pressure off of him, it's really a big deal for us moving forward.
You go from the big Frankton game to the Grant 4 tournament. How big of a deal is the Grant 4 tournament to your program?
That's huge. We talk about the conference and the county every year as things that you want to compete for every year. I'm a graduate of Oak Hill, so my time goes all the way back to the early 80s when the Grant 4 actually started. Went from being the tournament that Marion and Bennett and some of these other schools were involved in to just the Grant 4. And so it's a really big deal. We have a traveling trophy that not only goes with that game, but also is on the line anytime county rivals face each other. Mrs. Sinnowall won the county last year, and the first opportunity to put that up was Friday night against them. So we actually have it. We'll have it
nice.
until the tournament starts on Saturday. But that's a 1-day deal. It's going to be on a Saturday this year after Christmas. We're hoping that Oak Hill is full of fans. It's just a neat experience. It's one where the kids really get up for, and I think the coaches do as well. And as I said, it's something that you circle and look forward to right there in the middle of the season.
How do you feel about the 2 games in one day?
I don't mind it. I know the athletic directors don't particularly like it. That sometimes they see with, out their eyes with dollar signs, and they see more people coming through on a Friday night, Saturday night type experience. But, being in the regional round or the old regional round, now it would be the semi-state round, I guess. It does kind of prepare you for that. It's, it's more of a team experience. The best 5 in a 2-game tournament like that in one day doesn't necessarily always win. A team that, could be deeper could stand out. I just really do enjoy it. We've been in those situations before where the hottest team coming in can play two good games, put 2 good games together, always win. And it's a coach's cliche, but it's one of those things where they tell you that you throw records out the window, and you really do for the Grant Four. I think everybody will come in evenly matched this year, and it should be a good experience.
And it's a different kind of experience for your players too. It doesn't happen very often where you play twice in a day.
Nope, it doesn't. And more importantly than the twice in one day, it's just bringing all the county schools together. Obviously, the kids are so familiar with each other,
Yes.
and they get up for each other. Every time we play Eastbrook, Madison, Grant, and Mississinawa, and to bring all of those fans and all of their fandom with them in one place really makes for a neat experience for the kids.
Coach, with Christmas just coming up next week, are there any neat Christmas traditions that the Oak Hill boys basketball program has, or even the Renbarger family?
No, not necessarily. We had ours actually. We had our Christmas party last night. We do a white elephant gift exchange, which is always kind of funny and fun for the kids to get together. We order some B-dubs and have some fun and fellowship. But more importantly than anything, this year with Frankton Friday night and then the Grant Four next Saturday gives us an entire week to basically let off the gas a little bit. And I think more importantly than anything, these kids have been going hard for 6 days a week since the 1st of November, and it'll give us an opportunity to take 2 or 3 days at least 2 or 3 days, and get away from basketball, get away from each other, and invest back into the family a little bit, get their minds cleared so we can, hit the ground running once the 1st of January rolls around and we start thinking about Peru and Southwood and Eastbrook and the rest of the conference foes.
Please stay tuned for our conversation with Frankton head coach Brent Brobston.
You're listening to the Central Indiana Sports Report with your host, Greg Mengel.
Yeah, this is an important game. It's probably not going to, decide maybe who the conference champion is, but it also gives you the upper hand on the conference. So if one of you come out 2-0, so yeah, it's going to be a very important game, and looking forward to the challenge on the road.
I was going to say, yeah, on the road. I mean, Greg and I were talking the other day, and I said one thing about Oak Hill. I think it's a very tough place to play especially when they're good.
Yes, I would agree with you. In all the years we've played, it's always difficult to go up there and win. And Renbarger does a fantastic job. And
Hasn't it been a while since you've won?
I want to say we won up there in 2019, maybe, with that team. And but it's been a while, yeah. So it's one of those deals that it's going to be a tough test. And when you go on the road like that in the conference, it's always a tough test. But Oak Hill's a difficult place to play, and that's due to the fact of a great tradition, very very good coach, and in terms of athletics itself, there's probably nobody that I respect any more than Fagan. He's just been incredible for Oak Hill athletics.
Yeah. Excuse me, Brent. How big a key is Trey Bennett going to be for you guys tomorrow night? I know he had that monster game for you last week, and it seems like he maybe is a big key to give you a presence inside.
No, I agree with you. I think Trey's going to be a big factor in this game. We've talked about that this week. His size advantage is there. Will he be able to, stay in the game, not be in foul trouble, and be effective on the boards? Because that's where he was a real problem for Eastbrook, was around the basket and on the boards. And we need him to be in the game, that's for sure, and on the floor. So he's really had a good start to his sophomore year. I mean, you're talking about a kid as a freshman that started on the C team and finished with the JV team last year and dressed in a varsity game. So he went from C team to JV, dressed in a varsity, and then this year jumps right into a varsity starter. So he's really had leaps and bounds that he's done. But I think you're right, Michelle. I think he's a big factor in this game. I think rebounding's a really, really important factor in this game. It's something we've been focused on, and it is something throughout the season that we've actually stayed solid with and that we've been able to count on each night, is out rebounding our opponents, and it's been in pretty good form. I mean, we've really won those battles really well, and there's other things that we're trying to get better at, but that's one thing we've done well so far.
Well, I would imagine him being a threat to score inside then helps keep defenses honest and kind of opens up things outside for Wright and for Stansbury. And then, of course, Brady is just, he's kind of different. I mean, he can knock down that outside shot, but he's also good around the glass and everything too.
Yeah, Brady just, he plays with so much intensity and never takes a play off, and that part's something that you definitely need. But you're right, Trey opens up the game more for those guys, and he presents a little bit of a challenge for other teams, being almost 6'7", and he's 6'6", and he's 210 pounds, so he's really worked hard to get better. So really proud of him for that. But he's definitely made some differences for us offensively, but a long ways to go for him. But he's really, really doing well so far.
All right, let's talk a little bit about Oak Hill, Coach. And obviously, it starts with Jace Tonigal, but I saw the Golden Eagles play early on against Eastern, and I was every bit as impressed with R.J. Sugar. Having those two options got to be a big task.
It's a big task. Jace Tonigal's an outstanding young man. Of course, he comes from a great background, and who I really, look up to a lot. His dad, Greg Tonigal, who, when I was young in my career, opened up the door to me to go up to Indiana Wesleyan and see what building a program was like. I spent a lot of time with him up there early in my career, probably back in the 2010 to 2014 era. I was there quite a bit studying what they would do. So I have a ton of respect for the Tonigal family and for his kids and how hard they've worked. But the kid's an outstanding player, and he's averaging 22 points a game as a sophomore for a reason, because he's worked hard to get. And that the thing about him is he's very unselfish. So you're not talking about a kid that's out there forcing shots to get 22 points a game.
That's right.
He's a great teammate. He sees the floor well. And then, like you said, R.J. Sugar has just continued to get better, and he's averaging 14 points a game, shooting the three extremely well. Coach Renbarger's always, I think, been good at playing off his team's strengths. And last year, he would play a little bit off of Fagan because he had that type of strength in the post. And then this year he's adjusted and he's playing off the strength of Tonigal now and running more things through him. So a tough task with both those kids, and the kids around them are, solid guys that can come out any night and be in double figures. Middlesworth is can be a problem, from the perimeter. He's shooting 70% from three coming into this game. So it's going to be a tough task, and those two are obviously key factors for them that we're going to have to be able to somehow control.
Not only are Tonigal and Sugar unselfish, it seemed to me they would rather pass the ball than shoot if they had the option.
They're very. You're exactly right. They're very unselfish players, and Tonigal might get 22, and it's always a quiet 22. I've seen him in person twice, and he lets the game come to him. He's a coach's kid, so you can tell it. And he lets the game come to him. He doesn't rush things. He doesn't push things. in the McConaughey game, he made shots when they were needed, and he stepped up big for them late down the stretch to get that win and made some really big shots. But he really didn't force anything. He just did what he had to do and to win the game, and that's kind of what he's about. I think he's a winner, and he's always been that way. So, and again, like you said, Schugert's improved him a lot immensely, and he's going to have a really good year for them. So he's another handful.
Of course, for you guys, you have the big game tomorrow, and then of course there's Christmas. But then right after Christmas, you have it's not a conference game, but it's still a big game for you guys with Wapahani.
Yeah, we've tried to gear this front end of our schedule in the last 10 years. We've tried to make it very difficult for our program, and that's what we wanted. And I know I've talked to you about that before, Michelle, that we want challenges early in the season. That's why we're playing Tipton in a non-conference schedule. That's why we're playing LaPel in a non-conference schedule. That's why we're playing Wapahani in a non-conference schedule. And then you got Oak Hill and Eastbrook, obviously. I mean, if people watch them and what Lydic is doing, that's a very good team. And that was a good win for us last week that I don't think people realize how good of a win that was. They will as the season goes on, because I think Eastbrook's going to win. I think they're going to be a really tough load, and they're going to win a lot of games. But this is part of it. So now, we go to Oak Hill, and then we turn around. We'll practice Saturday and Monday. We'll take Tuesday, Wednesday off. We'll prepare Thursday again. And then Friday, we got to go to Wapahani, who, arguably the best run in the last 10 years I think we're right there with them. I think both programs have been a mirror of each other in ways. And Matt Luce is, in my opinion, one of the best in this state, coaching wise, and he's proven that. So that's a tough challenge for us too. And there's probably no tougher place to go on the road to win than Wapahani since I've coached. And so that's going to present quite a test. And then we got to follow that up the next night, going over to Monroe Central. And, Brian Klein's coaching there now, and another proven winner. And they're winning. They're 4-1, and they're having a good season as well. So we're going to be battle tested headed into the county tournament. And that's what we want. I know we've had several seasons where we've had a losing record headed into the county tournament or coming out of the county tournament. Even the year we won the state, I want to say we were 4-5 or 4-6. And then I think coming out of the county, and then I don't think we lost another game. So that's what we want. We want to be battle tested early, see what we're deficient at, how are we going to improve, and then hopefully in the back end of our schedule really be playing well.
I was going to say, I think some of the best games that I've watched Frankton play has been against Wapahani. That's always a battle when you guys play, whether it's sectional, regular season. It always seems to be great, tightly contested, high emotions, great. You can feel the atmosphere, the intensity, atmosphere. I think it's great. It's just a great atmosphere.
Two great programs. That's what it's like.
Yeah, thank you. It has been fun. And, Matt came in there in 07, 08, the year before I got to Frankton in 08, 09. Wapahani's always had a great tradition, very similar community to Frankton. There are really a lot of similarities there. And Rex Bacher, who's my assistant, and, I know he's highly thought of in the coaching world, but Rex was the head coach at Wapahani for 1 year back in 84. Let's say 83 or 84, 85. So he was there and kind of seen, what Wapahani's like and what Frankton's like, but two great traditions. And, we've had great players in that battle. I mean, through the years, when you talk about some of the players like Aaron Korn and Grant Evans and Austin Compton, and you go down the line with the guys they've had and the guys we've had, it's been some real battles.
How much time do you spend talking about that every game in high school? You only get 100 maybe if you're a great player, 100 high school basketball games, and they're all special. But when you have games like Oak Hill, when you have games like Wapahani, do you talk to your kids about how special this is?
We do. I mean, tonight we talked, today at practice, we talked quite a bit about the fact that this importance of this game and how it can put you in the driver's seat of the conference and give you the opportunity to be competing to win it. And and if you do, if you go there and you get beat, you're still in the hunt, but you can get the upper hand on everything. So, yeah, we talk about the tradition of Oak Hill. Again, another school that's won a state championship under Renbarger, and they've got a great tradition too. I mean, you look back on them, wow, what a tradition. Same thing.
Yeah.
So it's, if you can go up there and win, it's a huge win. And that's your goal and that's what you want to do. So there's quite a bit of emphasis on this game, and we've put a lot of work into it as a coaching staff trying to get prepared for it this week.
So, Brent, talk to us a little bit about the Anderson University men's basketball team and Aiden's senior year, and just a little bit about how, because I'm sure you've made it to a few games. So, how's their season going?
They're doing really well. I think they're tied for first in the conference. They're coming off back-to-back conference championships, back-to-back NCAA tournament appearances. Aiden's been a part of something that's been special the last 3 years, and this year being his senior year is the same. And Carter Collins has done a wonderful job as the head coach. Owen Handy was there before for Aiden's freshman year, and he had done a great job as well and had a lot of success. But Carter's taken over from there, and he's had tremendous success. They got a big win yesterday over Hanover. Aiden I thought he had a really good game for what his role is. He's an off the bench guy. Played about 6-7 minutes last night in the game against Hanover. They won by 6, I think. He's really enjoyed the program. He's enjoyed Coach Collins, the way they do things. We got Nolan Swan in there from Tipton as a freshman that's come in and really had a nice impact. And the Cole Duncan kid from Cal, and the 6'10" kid, he's really had a nice season for him too. But at least getting some minutes and coming in. So 2 young guys with a lot of experience coming back. But Aiden's really enjoyed it. He really has. And the thing I'm probably most proud of him is how great of a teammate he is. And he's just done a really good job of, whether he gets in and plays minutes or whether he doesn't, of being a supporter from the bench or being on the floor and helping the team win in any way he can. And that's really what it's ultimately all about. And, him and I have talked about the fact that he's got 2 rings, from the last 2 years that they've won 2 conference titles, and they've traveled to Ohio 2 years in a row and played in the NCAA tournament. And those are experiences that most kids don't get, whether you're in off the bench or whether you're a starter. So he's really done a good job in his role there at AU and being a leader, and he's well liked by the guys. But I think he does whatever the coach asks, and that's what I'm probably most proud of him for. But it's really been fun. It's been fun to watch him come from a kid in 4th grade that didn't know how to check into a game, and who I probably thought would never get to that level. And at that time, I thought, he not just because he's my kid, but I've said this over and over. I don't know that I've met a harder worker, and he worked his butt off when he was in high school to get better and better and better, and spent a lot of time in the gym, and spent a lot of time with speed and agility and weights and things like that to get himself to where he is today. So super proud of him, but I'm really proud of the program. I obviously played there myself, so proud of what Carter Collins has established and continued, really. And I think they're going to be right there at the top of the pack again this year and have a chance again to win it. And it's fun to watch.
Well, Frank's had quite the pipeline, because that's where Maurice Knight played too, right? I mean, he had a sensational career.
Yeah, Maurice had an outstanding career there, arguably one of the best players to ever play for us at Frankton, and obviously help lead us to a state championship. And Maurice's career there was outstanding, 1,000-point scorer and a 3-time all-conference player. And yeah, he had just a really, really good career there under Owen Handy. So yeah, and Brady Ashton, who's now my JV coach, played there, and same thing, had a really, really good career there. Had a kid, Carson Breckenridge, who was a forward for me early in my career, that went there and played. Had a really nice career there. Brayton Kane, guard from our team in 2019. He had a nice 2 solid years there with them as well, and was part of one of their conference title, and really the first one with Carter Collins, when they won the conference and went to the NCAA tournament. So yeah, it's been a nice pipeline for us over there, and right now for us, we'd like to continue to send players there, and I think that they have done an outstanding job recruiting, but it's really, really a nice place to go. And I know that for me, my son's really enjoyed it.
Well, I mean, he's got to experience a lot off the court as well with the program.
Yeah, he has, and I think they went to the Dominican Republic. He spent time over there with them for 10 days, and they helped kind of on like a mission trip there. And he's not only that, they've the places they get to travel. I mean, they've been out of state multiple places, whether that's Chicago or different places they've went as a team. But um, it's been the perfect fit for him. He wanted to study national security, so that's what he's getting his degree in, to try to get into the federal government and work. And that was the place that had that degree, so it really worked out well for him. And really happy on his career, and proud of what he's accomplished.
You should be. Of course, I think he comes from a great family, and it's your entire family, and I think it's you have a pretty strong village.
Yeah, and well, thank you. You've always been wonderful to us, and I've known you now for probably 15 years, and I think the first time we met was in 2012 at the regional. And I really got to know you then, and I've always appreciated everything you've done for Frankton and for us, and you've always been great to us. And yeah, I'm proud of them, but exactly what you said, that it takes a village to raise your kids, and that's the thing. The people that are at Frankton, and the people that have been around him with strength and conditioning or whatever with all my kids, it takes you say, well, you can raise your kids in here. No, you can't. So the bottom line is you got to have a village that surrounds you to do that. And I think that's what you get out of Frankton. That's the community you get, and that's what you ultimately want for your kids. And some people probably don't realize how special a place that can be. Um, a small town in Frankton, and there's a lot of good communities around just like us, but it takes a village to raise them.
Coach, can you imagine an area like this size, especially Tipton being so lucky to have a sports editor like Michelle Garmon for so long?
She's wonderful, and yes, she's a hidden gem. We'll continue to try to keep her. So Tipton is very fortunate, and so are all of us. So she's continued just great things, and obviously what you're trying to do, Greg, too, is great for all of us.
Oh,
And
I'm the best too.
so I know. So,
That's
and you're a former Frankton grad, so
right.
um,
Yeah, I have to
but
be,
no,
right?
it's yeah, exactly. So no, Michelle's a special person, and we've been fortunate with that. I mean, Rick Teverball was just outstanding for us when he wrote for us with the Herald, and Rob Hunt has
How
really
great is Rob
continued
Hunt?
that.
Yeah.
He's great. Yeah, he's really continued that, done a great job. George Bremer, you can kind of go down the line, and Ed Hamilton was outstanding when I first started,
Absolutely,
Oh
yeah.
yes.
and he was really good. I really enjoyed my talks with him, and
Speaking of lucky to have him, Elwood was lucky to get him, that's for
And they
sure.
really were.
yes, absolutely. And it was always my most enjoyable moments for him were just the preseason article and him coming over, and we'd go get us a pop and go sit in the office and talk forever. And Ed was full of knowledge. I mean, he understands the game extremely well, and he was always fun to talk to.
Yes, I mean, I credit Ed Hamilton for making me a much better writer,
Me too.
especially sports. He was
Me
just
too.
he's great. I always hate that the health issues um made him have to leave the profession earlier because
Yeah.
he was one who really enjoyed what he did and enjoyed the coaches and the kids. Now he's like all of us at times. There's the occasional parents or fans or something that don't really always understand
They do not.
what the rules or the system or what it takes to what goes into it, how many hours coaches put into it, that drive us nuts a little bit. But yeah, but he was fantastic, and he enjoyed promoting the kids too.
Michelle has one more.
I have one more thing. Brent, share with us, is there any special Christmas tradition that you do with your team or you and your family do that's you've developed?
So yeah, so with our team and with our program, we have like 7 different team dinner events here at my house, and now we actually have where we get together and have a Christmas party with the kids, and we did that last week. Laura Melvin and Casey Stansbury, 2 of our parents, help organize that for us, and do that with the kids, and it's fun to get together and watch them and spend time with them outside the gymnasium. So that's for us, that's a pretty special time to be able to have them around and not be in the gym and them listen to me harping on them. At that time, they can have some fun and get out of the gym. So it's kind of a tradition we've started to where we've done that, and we try to have the team over here, anywhere from 6 to 7 times a year, and one of them being a Christmas party. So that tradition just started last year. So this was our second year really doing that, and really in thanks to those 2 moms who kind of got that started.
And Brent, can you tell, because as your role as athletic director, can you tell us? Because I thought it was pretty neat what the wrestling coaches and wrestling programs in that sectional that are in the same sectional did here recently, where they went and paid off some layaways.
Yeah, Coach Duncan, he's all of them, of what they were able to do, and what you're talking about there was wonderful and great for the programs to be able to do that. And we're lucky at Frankton to have the one we have. So, Courtney's a former state champion, and he's the same way. He's family oriented with these kids, and he's coached there a long time now, and a lot of wins and several state qualifiers. So, from a small school, he's really been able to continue on the tradition that Otis Crest presented to him, and taking over after Otis has been great. But he's more about things like that and helping others. So that's really what it's all about. In the end, is that's what you want to do. I mean, as a coach, you're trying to help kids, become young men or young women, and um, that's what us coaches are in it for, is to help these kids, develop into productive citizens, and the ones that are in it for other reasons, I don't know why. I mean, you want to be in it to help kids. I mean,
That's right.
that's what you're in it for. You're in it to help kids. You're into
Yeah.
help raising these kids up to, like we talked about with the village. So that's part of it. That's part of our job. And yeah, we're going to criticize and we're going to motivate and do those things. But at the end of the day, we want to make sure these kids understand that we're in it for them, and that's why we got into this profession, was to help them succeed.
Well, I think it is, and I think communities, and I do believe your community knows how fortunate they are that you came back and you are involved in the Frankton community and doing what you are doing, because I do think, especially at the high school level, the job of coaches is not just to get the best out of your child on the athletic floor, or even that goes hand in hand in the classroom, but it's to make sure that they know how to become responsible and good husbands or fathers, or just uncles, whatever, representatives, good men, good young lady, good women, when they leave high school. Because you know we all know that not everybody goes on to play college athletics, and not everybody always necessarily goes on to college. There's trade schools and things, but like you said, I think the role is to use athletics. That's why when people say, "Well, athletics are not important," I'm like, I disagree a little bit, because they teach you. I think if you have the right coach and they're in the right program, they're going to learn life lessons.
No, I agree. And I've my first 2, Aiden and Addison, who have gone through Frankton and both graduated from there, I told them pick 3 sports. You're going to play a fall sport, you're going to play a winter sport, you're going to play a spring sport. So go ahead and pick those 3 and do them and enjoy them, because I felt like they would meet different friend groups in each sport. And that was important to me, that they develop friendships with kids, not just in the sport of basketball. And, for my daughter, even though I'm a basketball coach, her favorite sport was probably volleyball. And so introducing her to that and her playing tennis was important. And for Aiden, he was able to play golf and play basketball and play tennis and run track, and ultimately had a good track career, and was able to even win the sectional in that, um, which was exciting. And those are things that I just pushed out there to him. And I think what that does is when you have to play 3 sports, one, it helps your school, but two, especially small schools, but two, it develops work ethic. And so when you've got to go through practice regiments every day of 3:15 to 5:15, and then you still have to try to be an all A-B student, or at least, a top honor roll kid and expectations, then you learn discipline. And at the end of that, I think that some of the best rewards of being a coach is when you can take a kid that somebody tells you is not going to make it. Hey, this kid's just not going to make it. He's not going to, I just don't see him panning out for you. Those are the kids that I like to take and make sure they do, and changing their lives and making sure that they do make it and having an impact on them, because not everybody has the same opportunities, and that's what it's all about. So those are probably some of the things that I'll never forget the most, is the kids that I've been able to change their lives, and kids that people, might have said, well, I just don't know if that kid's going to make it in your program, or that kid's going to make it in the classroom. And when they are, and when they do, then that's the best reward of anything, and far more than coaching.
Thank you to Oak Hill head coach Kevin Renbarger and Frankton head coach Brent Brobston for joining the Central Indiana Sports Report. And thank you for listening. If you enjoy what you heard, please go like, subscribe, or follow at your favorite podcasting site. And tell a friend. Central Indiana Sports Report is a product of ITG Media, and I love Susie.